All right. Well, hi everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. My name is Kathleen Johnson. I'm the PI, which is the principal investigator, and the director of the UCI Climate Justice Initiative. And I'll be introducing some other folks as we move along through today's presentation. But the main purpose of this is to share a bit of information about what the Climate Justice Initiative, or CJI, as I'll probably say, is, and what is involved in the fellowships, both kind of what the benefits are as well as what the expectations and requirements are. And then we'll talk a little bit about the application process. And Most importantly, we're going to have a panel discussion with 4 of our current fellows that you all can ask. We'll ask some questions for them, and you all will have a chance to ask questions of them, as well as me and others who are here today. You can find our newly published website by following the QR code here, or Robert can paste it in the chat. And we also, maybe some of you already saw this on social media, but we also have Instagram and X accounts that you can see down there. And this program, as I mentioned, is funded by the National Science Foundation, specifically the Geoscience Division. I'm a professor in the Department of Earth System Science. And as you will hear, this program is really is funded by a program that is aimed at transforming the culture of geosciences. And that said, though, many of you might not consider yourself a geoscientist, or might not even be in STEM. And I just want to make clear from the get-go that we are part of the program is aimed at building an interdisciplinary community. So these fellowships are open to anyone from any disciplinary background, although we do especially encourage applications from people who are in geosciences or related fields. Okay, so just an outline for today. We are going to give an overview of the CJI, including some of the background and motivation for why we're doing this program. We'll talk a little bit about the structure of the program, introduce some of the key people who are involved and organizations who are involved. And we will then provide an overview of the fellowships, the post-bac and the PhD fellowships, talk about how to apply and who's eligible, and then talk about the program requirements for those who are accepted. I want to make sure that we're really clear on that, because I don't want people to spend their time applying if they're not going to be available to complete the requirements. And then we'll have a panel discussion with our fellows and Q&A. So we may or may not, we scheduled this for an hour and a half. We may not take all that time, but we'll go as long as needed until all your questions are answered. Okay, so part of the background and motivation, as I mentioned, this is funded by a geoscience division at the National Science Foundation, and it's partly aimed at addressing a long-standing lack of diversity in the field of geoscience. So geoscience can be really broad. It includes earth science, geology, environmental science, atmospheric science, ocean science, earth system science, and many, many other related fields. And there's a huge range of career trajectories that you can do with a geoscience degree, or with even a little bit of geoscience training, even if that's not your primary focus. But one of the issues in the field is that despite a lot of efforts in terms of, K-12 outreach, building the so-called pipeline, we have had a really big problem with retaining and recruiting people from marginalized backgrounds in the field. And partly, in my opinion, and also according to some research, that's driven by many different factors, some of which are cultural. The culture of geoscience has really been traditionally focused on things like extensive focus on outdoor activities like camping and hiking and being out in the wilderness, which isn't something that everyone has had the opportunity to do. There's also a strong historical connection with the oil and gas industry and mining, other extractive industries, which has maybe made the field unattractive to people who want to actually do work to benefit society and help address environmental problems. And also just hostile climates in certain geoscience departments have contributed to that. You can see this little cartoon over here on the right, which kind of compares sort of some of the challenges that people from marginalized groups, like a woman of color shown here, might face in order to reach their career goals. So there's been a lot of effort and attention paid to this because geosciences is actually one of the least diverse of all STEM fields. And it's something I've worked a lot on. And so we need to try something new. And that's partly why NSF, I think, is funding projects like the current one that we're going to talk about today. There's been research that shows that highlighting altruism, helping people in society, helping the environment, aligns better with diverse US student ideals. In this case, they're comparing it to better than emphasizing working outdoors. Oops, sorry. And so these altruistic factors are really what's driving a lot of students today to pursue degrees and careers in earth and environmental sciences. But there's still a lack of understanding about what career paths there are, about whether students today have the necessary skill sets to enter some of these fields. And also there's one other aspect on the bottom right. This is kind of a big motivating factor, is that a lot of people from marginalized communities, and I can say this as a Native American geoscientist who's done a lot of work with Native students and with tribal communities, that the students often want to use their skills and their degree to help their community or help, address some of these altruistic factors. But that's not how we're training students today. Students need to be able to work across disciplines. They need to understand how to work with community partners in a way that's ethical and collaborative, as opposed to extractive, like a lot of historical geoscience work has been. Okay, so that's a little bit of the background and motivation. And now, so that is really what's informed the approach that we're working on here, which is really, instead of thinking about building a pipeline to bring students into geoscience field and geoscience careers, what we're actually recognizing is that there are many different ways that students can enter careers where they're thinking about earth or environmental or climate research. They might come in from other disciplines. They might enter via community colleges or informal STEM experiences, or might have had a different career and be changing careers. So there's lots of pathways into the field, and there's no one unique pathway through. So this is, as a geologist, we like these, geological metaphors. So this is imagining the STEM workforce development as a braided river, where mentorship and support and tailoring, education and training to individuals in ways that respect the different backgrounds that people bring and expertise, as well as help facilitate pathways that can evolve through time and lead to many different career options. Often there's a focus on entering academia or grad school, and that's not the focus here for our post-bac training program. That's one focus if that's what students want to do, but we're also trying to just prepare students for careers, even if they just choose not to pursue graduate education. Okay, so our approach is really focused on these 5 kind of guiding principles. Sorry, 6 actually, which is addressing climate impacts, adaptation, and solutions through an equity lens, ethically engaging with communities, respecting Indigenous knowledge, local knowledge, and other ways of knowing, centering social and environmental justice in climate research and environmental research, working to actively dismantle systemic racism, and using a transdisciplinary approach that brings in expertise from several fields. So not just even from STEM fields, but from social sciences, humanities, even the arts. Okay, so what do we actually do? The core climate justice activities are the real like heart of the program are the fellowship programs. So we offer post-baccalaureate and PhD fellowships. This year, which is our first year of the program, we have 6 post-bac fellows and 11 PhD fellows. It's a very diverse group, and was a very competitive application process. So as you can see, we received 46 applications for the 6 post-bac spots and 39 applications for 11 PhD spots. This coming year, this round of admissions, we're expecting to enroll again another 6 post-bac fellows. Oops, that's a typo. That should say post-bacs, not postdocs. And 6 to 8 PhD fellows, so a little bit smaller cohort of PhD fellows most likely this year. The training program for these fellows consists of coursework, so taking courses at UCI, conducting code, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on, co-designed research projects with community partners, professional development and career training activities, so lots of workshops, as well as mentorship from a diverse network of mentors. And then in addition to the fellowships, we are trying to build a larger community at UC Irvine and in Orange County that connects all of the faculty, students, staff working on related issues across the campus, as well as in the community. So that includes things like organizing events, workshops, and seminars that are open to others. And we have a number of faculty and staff across campus that are involved. I also want to highlight one of our key partners in this program is the UC Irvine Research Justice Shop. The RJS is a really unique center that we have at UCI that, as far as I know, doesn't really exist anywhere else. And it's focused on, is based in the Newkirk Center for Science and Society, and it's co-directed by Connie McGuire and Victoria Lorison Bretto, who are shown here in the bottom left, as well as a postdoc scholar, Brianna Ramirez, who is playing a big role in their activities and relationships with CJI. So the Research Justice Shop runs workshop series focused on community engaged research practices. They serve as a stable point of connection between academic researchers at the university and community-based organizations. And they work to train people in the UCI community in how to go about doing this research. So this is just an example of the different workshops that have been offered this year. And all of our current fellows are participating in these, where there's a fall series of 3 workshops that are focused on relationship building and co-producing knowledge and community-based research. The winter was focused on doing community-based research skills and practices, and then the spring will be focused on transition outcomes and endings in community-based research. I should say that for next year, we're still finalizing what the structure will look like, and it may be that some of this content is given to our CJI fellows like early on in the fall quarter or before the fall quarter even starts in September. We have lots of people involved, so this is a huge team effort. We have a lot of great folks involved. So as I said, I'm the PI and director, but we have 4 faculty co-PIs. So Steve Allison, who's in the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology department, as well as the ESS department. Elizabeth Crook and Venice Ego are both colleagues of mine in ESS, and then Kim Fortune is a professor in the Department of Anthropology who specializes in environmental justice. We have an external evaluator, which is often required for this type of program, to track kind of outcomes and provide guidance on how we can improve the program to meet the goals that we're trying to achieve. We have the Research Justice Shop staff that I mentioned here, our key partners, as well as the really critical staff that we've hired as part of the Climate Justice Initiative, specifically being Robert Garcia, who is there, you can wave. James Adams is one of our postdoctoral scholars. I'm not sure if James is here, but feel free to wave if you are. And T. Trung is another postdoctoral scholar. And I know she couldn't be here today. But they are doing a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the day-to-day management and programming for the fellows. We also have a number of faculty that are involved as lab supervisors, specifically for the post-bac program, which we'll talk more about, and they're shown down at the bottom. So these are the current ones who are mentoring our current post-bac fellows. Because we have a heavy focus on community-based research, we have partnered with four community-based organizations that are funded through the grant. And they are shown here from top to bottom. It's an organization called GREEN MPNA, which stands for Getting Residents Engaged in Empowering Neighborhoods, Madison Park Neighborhood Association. And this is a community-based org that is a grassroots organization based in Santa Ana. Orange County Environmental Justice, or OCEJ, is one of our partners that addresses environmental justice issues across Orange County. And these are four of the folks on board that we're collaborating with in various ways. The Sacred Places Institute for Indigenous Peoples is a organization that does a lot of environmental justice work as it relates to Indigenous communities in Southern California. And Angela Mooney DRC, who is a Hashimoan member of the Hashimoan tribe, which is here in Orange County, as well as Gabriela Lasos is one of our key partners, who is Gabrielino Tongva, and is working closely with some of our current fellows. And then we have Crystal Cove Conservancy, which is based at Crystal Cove State Park, and has a number of longstanding collaborations with people at ECI. And then quickly, just here's a picture of our current cohort, and you'll be hearing from some of these folks later on in today's session. This is like the first time they all met each other, so. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into specific projects, although you can feel free to ask questions about that during the Q&A, and you can find more information about these on our website. These are the current kind of community-based research projects that our fellows are involved in with our community partners. So issues around mapping environmental injustice issues in Orange County, understanding water contamination inequities, addressing extreme heat impacts in Santa Ana, assessing tribal knowledge and how it was incorporated in the UCI climate adaptation plan and other land management decisions. The Qual project, Comunidad Unida Aire Limpio, which is a air pollution focused project mainly in Santa Ana. iClean, which is focused on lead exposure from leaden soils in Santa Ana and how that's impacted health in the region, especially with children. So, and then past, current, and future trends of the Crystal Cove kelp forests. And so now I will move on to a bit of a broader overview of the fellowships and what's required for them. it should be clear probably from our background and motivation that we're really aiming to foster an inclusive and collaborative working environment that welcomes diverse perspectives, backgrounds, and life experiences. I wanted to explicitly say this though, because this is one of our main priorities, is building a space and a community where everyone can thrive and feel that they belong. And therefore, I've really strongly encouraged applications for members of historically marginalized communities, whether that's communities of color, LGBTQ communities, and many low-income communities, many other forms of diversity we're seeking in our cohort of fellows. Okay, so first I'll talk a little bit about the post-bac fellowship. We are currently recruiting, as I said, 6 post-bac fellows. The application deadline is May 1st. And post-bac fellows are actually hired as employees at UCI. And so unfortunately, for that reason, applicants must be authorized to work in the US. And the job title that you're hired under is junior specialist. Some of you, if you're at UCI, may have heard of this position, but it's kind of an entry-level research assistant position, and on the academic salary scale, and the salary scales are public and can be seen there. So I think the salary should be around 53,000 per year, and it's a 1-year program. Accepted fellows will be matched with a faculty mentor, and that will be done through an iterative process where we're actually talking to admitted students about the possibilities in terms of faculty mentor research areas. And the actual application because it is a paid employee position, you need to apply through the UCI Recruit, which is like the system that UCI uses for all of its jobs. And so that link is here, and Robert can put that in the chat. In terms of eligibility, in addition to being authorized to work in the US, this program is really aimed at very recent graduates. So those who have completed a BS or a BA degree in 2023 or will be graduating in 2024. At any institution, you do not have to be from UCI, although we do have one fellow this year who did their undergraduate at UCI. And it can be in geosciences or related field. So that can be very broad. Related fields, just based on our current cohorts of fellows, can include ecology and evolutionary biology, chemistry, civil and environmental engineering, public health, urban planning and public policy. It could also include other STEM fields, as well as potentially other fields. But I will say that we aim for a good number of people from geosciences or related STEM fields in the program. Interest in pursuing a career and or graduate studies related to climate change and environmental justice is another thing that we're looking for, as well as interest in collaborating with Black, Indigenous, and people of color-led and BIPOC-led and BIPOC-serving community-based organizations on community-based research, because that's what you'll be spending a lot of your time on. We want people who are passionate about that. I will say we don't expect that applicants have experience with that already, just to be clear. And then in terms of what is involved for the fellows who are accepted and hired, the post-bacs will it's a full-time position. So it's about 20 hours a week working on research with a faculty mentor that you're matched with. And this is aimed to provide the post-bac fellows with an opportunity to gain hands-on training in cutting-edge research, whether that's in the Earth System Science Department or in another department. And so that's about how you would be spending about half your time. And then the other half of your time would be spent on the program curriculum, including the community-based research projects. And we'll be talking more about the specifics of that in a minute. But first, I want to just, you can all read through the application, and I encourage everyone to read carefully, because our review criteria and selection process will specifically will clearly weigh all of these categories in our evaluation. So we do a holistic admissions process that considers all sorts of different aspects. The cover letter, 1 page explaining your relevant background, why you're interested in the opportunity, and your immediate and long-term career goals. A CV or resume, and some of you may or may not have a CV yet, but there's specific information that we're looking for on that. So be sure to read and make sure you include all of this. I just want to spell this out because often I've seen a lot of CVs where people don't know that they should put maybe education or outreach or volunteer work or leadership experience. And that's definitely one of the things. So I won't read through all of these, but please just make sure you, we want to make sure everyone includes all of the information that could help us with making our decisions. Unofficial transcripts for the postbac are required. And then there's a series of essay questions. And these are really the most important part, I'd say, of the admissions process. So I'd encourage everyone, you have plenty of time before the May 1st deadline. So I'd encourage everyone to start thinking about these early. And let's see, I think I'll go ahead and read through them just because. So describe the areas of research that interest you most, your personal goals for the internship, and indicate your preference for working in office, lab, or field settings. And in your response, you may reflect on the current project partnerships and themes, which are linked to there. If there's any specific projects or organizations that you're especially enthusiastic about the possibility of working with, you can say that here. And we can't guarantee anything. We can try to, that can be really helpful as we are trying to, match students with partners and projects. We ask a question about what your career goals are and how participating in the postbac program can help you meet those goals. This program in part is provided, it's not exactly a bridge program, but it really is here to help students who maybe didn't have a chance to do a lot of research as an undergraduate because maybe you had to work a full-time job, or you feel like you need more training, or you want maybe you want to do community-based research, but you've never had, that opportunity. So anything that can let us know why you would benefit from this program would be helpful. Third, please describe what social and environmental justice mean to you with a specific example is most helpful. What perspective, skills, or abilities would you bring to the CJI? This could be related to your past experiences in school, your past work or volunteer experiences, or your lived experience. And then the last question is about the CJI is dedicated to enhancing the diversity of future scientific communities and sharing our science with a broader audience. So describe how you would help contribute to this mission of the program. Okay, so that's the postbac application details. The PhD fellowship, as I said, we're recruiting 6 to 8 PhD fellows, and it partly depends on whether some fellows have additional sources of funding to help support them. But at minimum, we'll admit 6 this year. And the fellowship is a full year of funding. It's $38,000 per year, distributed as 12 monthly stipends, so through the summer. This fellowship will start September 1st, 2024. And because this is only open to current or newly admitted UCI PhD students, it's just a Google form application. We don't have to apply to be an employee. So the link is there. Robert can probably put that in the chat. So again, eligibility is for current UCI grad students. We especially encourage students from ESS and related departments, but any discipline is eligible to apply. And you, again, similarly, we expect you to have interest and express that interest in collaborating with BIPOC-led and BIPOC-serving community-based organizations. International students are eligible to apply for the PhD fellowships. We can't guarantee, though, that we can cover non-resident tuition. So if there are, so that's just to be clear about that, but that's something we can try and navigate on a case-by-case basis. So if you are an international student interested, please do apply. And then what is involved? The fellows, actually, for the PhD fellows, we're hoping, unless you're graduating within 2 years, we're hoping that fellows will stay involved in the program for 2 years, even though there's only 1 year of funding awarded. And most of the requirements for the fellowship can be completed in the first year. But in year 2, we're hoping to keep you engaged with either things like mentoring incoming fellows, continuing on your community-based research projects, and attending, weekly or monthly seminars and group meetings to kind of stay connected with everyone. The application requirements are similar to for the postbac. I will not read through these essay questions, I think, just for the sake of time, but please do, they're slightly different, but similar themes. But please do, you can, on the Google form, you can scroll down and read them, and I would recommend drafting your responses on a separate document and then pasting them in just so you don't lose anything. Okay, so what is required for those that get accepted? All fellows will receive a certificate in climate justice following completion of these requirements. So starting, as I said, the program will start September 1st this year. So that means people need to be present in person in September 2024. And there's going to be, early on, we don't have the date yet, but there will be a full day fall orientation meeting. And then we are also tentatively planning to do a 1-week short course this year. This is different than last year, where this training was stretched out over the entire fall quarter and beyond. But this year, we're hoping to do a short course on some of the community-based research and environmental justice topics. So that will happen before the start of fall quarter, when hopefully people's schedules are a little bit more flexible. There's a 1-day in-person field safety training that we would like everyone to take, which is actually Field Safety 201, which is preventing and managing discrimination, sexual harassment, and sexual violence in the field. And that includes a certification in CPR, I believe, or comes along with that. And then successfully complete all required coursework. So I will talk through what the required coursework is on the next slide. But there are some required courses that all the fellows will take, and that includes the PhD fellows who will enroll for credit and the postbac fellows who will take that as part of your job. We expect all the fellows to complete the community-based research projects and training. The projects are team-based. This year, the model we've used is building teams that mostly include like 1 postbac and 1 or 2 PhD fellows, and bring people together from a range of disciplines. So we might have a mix of social scientists and geoscientists, for example. And that involves, without going into too much detail, basically involves communicating with your partners and with your fellowship team, as well as your community-based partners. So lots of meetings to organize and attend to plan and conduct the research. The Research Justice Shop workshops will be, some of that may be moved to September dates, but there may be some things throughout the year as well. So that's still a little bit to be decided. And there's a annual symposium where students will be expected to present with their project team about their community engaged research. There's also a lot of professional development and seminars that we organize ourselves, that we encourage people to attend as appropriate. And then we also ask that all of our fellows participate in pre and post evaluation surveys, as well as focus groups with our external evaluators, which is really important for informing how we're doing. And then in terms of the actual courses that are involved, we're changing the timing a little bit for next year. And actually, that's not fully shown on this, actually. So the communication skills class is actually going to be moved to the spring. Sorry, I missed that when I was updating this. So the fall quarter will just be a 2-hour a week, 2 to 3 hours a week of the Climate Justice Practicum, which is an ESS graduate seminar that you register for. And that is inclusive of the RJS workshops that I mentioned. And that's something that will happen throughout every quarter. This year, we are meeting from 10 to 12 every Wednesday. And I'm pretty sure we're going to try and stick with that timing roughly. So we'll let people know before you need to accept any offer from us, because that's really critical that people are available at that time for the entire academic year. They're primarily in person, but we do allow we have some that are some occasional ones that are all virtual, and also occasionally we can do hybrid for extenuating circumstances. We're also going to continue with these kind of weekly to bi-weekly meetings throughout the summer as well, to make sure we're keeping track of how things are going with the community-based research projects, et cetera. And then in the winter, we have the climate justice research class, which is an anthropology graduate level class that goes through case studies of environmental and climate justice from a social science perspective, and is led by our postdoc, James Adams, as well as our co-PI, Kim Fortune. And then throughout the whole time, you're going to be working on those projects. Oops. Sorry. Okay, and then in year 2, the PhD students will hopefully continue with a minimal kind of once every 1 or 2 weeks meeting up for a seminar, et cetera. But mostly you'll be done with those requirements, most of the requirements in year 1, and whereas the postbacks themselves are just to run for the 1-year program. Lots of additional opportunities. Fellows can participate in. We have several fellows who, like for our postbacks, who have taken or audited different courses at UCI. So like things like GIS or other skills-based courses. Lots of all of our fellows are encouraged to take advantage of being at UCI, which is of course a huge university and has all sorts of resources and centers and workshops and trainings. We also have funding that can help support the community-based research projects that fellows can apply for. And then we also have funding to support conference attendance, which we've done for several people so far. Just as a quick example of some of the things we've done this year so far, this academic year, we've run graduate school application workshops for the postbacks who are interested in grad school. We've organized a workshop on applying to the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship Program, also for the postbacks, as well as any interested PhD students. We organized a workshop on mentoring, developing a network of mentors, introduction to GIS for environmental justice, a panel discussion with Ahashman and Tongva leaders on cultivating consciousness on Hashimoto and Tongva homelands. The field safety class, we organized a workshop back in the fall focused on disaster and hazard disparities that brought lots of researchers from across the country and featured several UCI faculty who are working in climate justice and resilience issues. And then we had this fall symposium, which was part of the science communication skills class. You can see over here on the right, picture of Mariana, one of our current fellows, and her poster. And then we have the Crystal Cove Conservancy field trip, just a number of different things happening all the time, as well as lots of informal, I think, social activities. All right, so that was a lot of talking from me, and I think you are probably, I'm sure many of you have questions already, but I think I'm going to hand it over to Robert Garcia, who is the academic coordinator for CJI, who's going to can introduce our panelists as well as facilitate that discussion. We're going to ask them a few questions first, probably, and then we'll open it up. And I should add that you can feel free to ask questions of the current fellows, as well as of Robert and I, as well as of any other CGI people who are in the room. I can't actually see who's here right now.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, so I guess we'll start by just kind of pointing out our fellows in the room here. So first we have Ada Akopta. Could you please wave? Okay, thank you. And she's one of our PhD fellows. Then we have Andrea Delgado. Can you say hi? There you go. Julia Lenhart. She will be right back, I'm told. She's giving you a virtual wave. And Freddie Ramos. Excellent. Okay, great. So yeah, let me just, my plan is to just kind of ask each of you, I guess, a few brief questions that can kind of just give everyone kind of a flavor for your experience. So I guess what I'll start with is just, can you please give a brief introduction, including your academic background and maybe a little bit of personal history if you'd like. So let's start with Ada.
Thank you, Robert. Hi, everybody. My name is Ada Akopta. I'm a fourth year PhD candidate in the Earth System Science department. So I'm an international student originally from Cameroon. And before starting a PhD, I did a little bit of work with communities back in Cameroon on conservation projects. So my background before the PhD was in natural resources and environmental management. So I had an MSc in natural resources and environmental management, did some work with community-based organizations, and then moved into doing a PhD. My PhD research now focuses on trying to trace greenhouse gas emissions from commodity trade products like palm oil and identifying how to reduce those emissions. I also try to understand the impact of like agricultural trade on ecosystem services. So yeah, that's me.
Great. Thank you, Ada. Okay, let's have next. Let's see. Andrea, could you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Andrea, she, her pronouns. A little bit of background, I guess. I was born and raised in SoCal, currently living in Moreno Valley, like right next to Riverside. And yeah, I was able to get my undergraduate degree, BS in Environmental Science at UC Riverside. And currently I am a postbac fellow for the Climate Justice Initiative. I guess experience working up to this current position during my undergrad, I focused on a lot of like community-based research or participatory research, as well as like community science projects focused on air and like water quality in Southern California and different areas like San Bernardino, Salton Sea area. And my current research focus under the professor, Dr. Jim Randerson, is sort of focusing on like fire suppression resources, which is honestly really, really interesting. And it was really interesting to also see the transition between like more broad air quality into like specific like targeted research focused on fires, which is all like intersectional. But yeah, that's what I'm currently working on, as well as air quality focused project with Green MPNA, focused on like industry impacts on like local air quality on like the east side of Santa Ana, which is highly impacted by like a lot of different industries. But yeah, that's just really brief background. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, you're up next, Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia Lenhard. I'm a third-year PhD in the Earth System Science Department, so I'm one of the PhD fellows. I have a bachelor's degree in Earth System Science from McGill University, and then I have sorry, I'm home with my kids on break this week, so you might hear that happening. And I'm a mom of two, and I have a master's degree in GIS, and then I worked for a while and then came back to school for a PhD. And my dissertation is looking at ecosystem services and agriculture. So I'm really looking at California farmland. And yeah, I guess that's it for me.
Excellent, thank you. And Freddie, you're up next.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Freddie Francisco Ramos. Use he, him pronouns, his pronouns. I'm actually a UCI alum. I graduated last year with a degree in environmental science and policy. Before that, a little bit of background about me. I actually joined Professor Elizabeth Crook's GIS research group back in my sophomore year. So I got a lot of research experience back then during COVID. So it was data labs, not a lot of in-person activity. And then I was lucky enough to work for the UCI Sustainability Center, specifically with housing. So we were able to go around the undergrad dorms and the communities to talk about sustainable living and whatnot. So all that I think just culminated. And where I also grew up from Southern California, like Andrea said. Currently, my last place of location was El Monte, California. Those of you who know me, I like to rep it a lot. But that city is in between the I-10. So it was interesting to grow up like right off the ramp. So environmental justice is something that I've always had in the back of my mind, but this program has really like brought it to the forefront of like all my recent living experiences. So this yeah, much love to this program and to the people in it.
Thank you, Freddie. And I realized I should probably introduce myself as well. So yeah, so I'm Robert Garcia, and yeah, I'm the academic coordinator for the Climate Justice Initiative. And yeah, I also have a background at UC Irvine, so I did my PhD in social psychology research in the School of Social Ecology way back when, and now I'm back in the Earth System Science Department. But yeah, my role is basically helping to facilitate and provide all kinds of logistical support to make sure everything's running smoothly here. So I wear a bunch of hats, but I love doing it because yeah, the fellows here are outstanding. All right, so next question for everyone else on the panel would be just maybe if you could share a little bit about your experiences in the CGI courses.
Yeah, so so far we've taken 2 courses. Like during the fall quarter, we took this communication skills course, which I think at the level of my PhD, I found it really helpful. I felt like it came at the right time because it basically trains us on non-academic communications and a little bit of academic communication as well. Because I guess with climate justice, we get to work with a lot of people outside academia, and also sometimes we do work that tries to inform policy, like the work that I personally am doing with Green MPNA in Santa Ana right now. So it's kind of important to be able to like communicate with diverse audiences, which I found really helpful because there was the professor and he did bring several different speakers at different points during the course, which were quite helpful. We also had like a poster presentation, which I think is also helpful for people at different levels of their program to be able to communicate scientifically. So yeah, that was great. And then this quarter, we dived deep into into the anthropology course, the climate injustice, which was quite interesting, or has been quite interesting. We went through a lot of important readings. And what I found most helpful about the course is you can literally go into a community right now and conduct a climate injustice analysis from start to finish, which is quite helpful. It was a little bit much, but I'm imagining with our recommendations, maybe some things could change next year, but it was quite helpful, had very important and engaging readings as well. Yeah, I'll let the other fellows share what they thought about courses.
Yeah, I guess I can go next. Just echoing everything that Ada had mentioned. For starting on the communications class, there was like a guest speaker that we had there. Her name's Brie McWhorter, who has her own Activate to Captivate like consulting like organization. And so I think that was really helpful in the way that we were also like able to like schedule like one-on-one like coaching sessions with her to like better integrate like the skills that she was teaching to engage in public speaking. And so it really helped me be able to project better and be more confident in the things that I'm saying if I ever do like presentations and things like that. So we were able to like lead up to this poster presentation that I think was also really helpful in bonding with everyone else in the initiative, because you were able to hear like different research projects that everyone else was working with. And that also led up to like a recent conference that I attended last week, where I was kind of able to like transition like that material from like a poster to like a 10-minute presentation. And so that I honestly did see like the growth over time. And also there was a lot of like panels that were integrated into the class, which was helpful to hear from different people working on campus and outside of campus, like in different agencies. And then also the anthro class, what Ada mentioned about like doing a research project in a community that you potentially have like zero knowledge about to begin with, but then looking more into it with a group of people and realizing that over the course of the time you kind of learn to know more about like on the ground sentiments about environmental injustices that they are facing. But yeah, definitely working on a lot of different deliverables during the quarter. And yeah, learning how to balance it all, I think, has been a challenge for me personally with like the courses, the research and everything, but that might just be a time management thing for my part. But it's honestly really helpful to have at least like one course during the quarter. And then integrate what you learn into what you're actively doing on the side. And yeah, I think from all the courses, I've definitely engaged in a lot of different conversations that have been really helpful with the PhD fellows, the postbacks, and just learning how to work in a team and like learning how to adjust different things in order to carry out certain assignments and yeah, deliverables.
Thank you.
I guess for me, just really generally, like I learned a ton, but also as a PhD student who had already finished my course requirements for my degree, it was kind of challenging to go back to courses, even though I learned a ton and I really love like classes and learning. It was hard to like adjust mentally to like, okay, I'm doing more coursework now. Like I sort of had celebrated that being over. And then, so I think that was a little bit challenging. And I almost wished I had, like, I feel like this fellowship is such a sweet spot for folks coming into their second year in their PhD, because they still have coursework to finish, especially like electives. And so these can qualify for that, especially for ESS students. So I think that's like kind of the golden spot for this fellowship for PhD students anyway.
And then in my case, I think I was a little opposite of Julia. I had just come off my undergrad, so I did celebrate no more courses, but then um coming back, it was like, okay, it's not that big a deal. I really, really liked, I think Andrea mentioned them, the one-on-one sessions. Something, I guess communication had always been a really big part of my collegiate experience, but I'd never really thought about it, and I'd never had a communications course before. So being able to like sit down with someone who has a master's in this, I think, is able to like dissect your thoughts is super helpful, and I think will like forever impact me. So shout out to Brima Quarter.
Yeah, Bree's fantastic. Yeah, her background in, the performing arts, you just see her stage presence, and it really, I think, helps so that the fellows like understand like, what you can do in front of a classroom or an audience of any kind to really command their attention. So I just wanted to add that. Okay, great. Let's keep going. I guess my next question would be for Ada and Julia. Can you talk a bit more about how CGI relates to or informs your PhD type research?
Yes. So my PhD, one thing I try to do is try to engage communities that are usually not involved in policy decisions that impact them eventually. For example, in the palm oil industry, there's like smallholder farmers, and then there's this large corporations. And usually research is focused on the large corporations, and that's the research that is used to inform policy. But in my work, I try to work with smallholder farmers as well and get their perspectives to get that engaged in the research so that if it informs policy or when that does, it can reflect their experiences as well. So with the CGI fellowship, what we've done is there is a lot of community-based research involvement, which I think has been super helpful for me because I work with the working with the community in Santa Ana. It is very different from the community that I've engaged with in my research. But then again, it broadens my perspective of trying to understand, like, even now and in the future, I'm still going to get involved with different kinds of communities. How do I integrate in that community? How do I bring in my knowledge, but also learn how to center their knowledge? Because when coming in, we're trying to like, it's easy to just bring your idea and be like, this is what I want to do. But in CGI, through our experiences, through the workshops and the practicum, we've been able to learn to try and center what the community wants, like try to merge that together, which I think has been important for me. So yeah, that's a little part of it.
My research is not at all engaging in communities. Like, not, it's like the most uh, mainstream extracted. It's just like broad scale modeling the state, not zooming in to community levels at all. And writing about how land management decisions are impacting environmental processes and vice versa. So, but this fellowship has changed the way I talk about farming. So especially because of all the conversations we've had about Indigenous knowledge and local and traditional knowledge, like the things that I've read over the last year the things I read has shifted completely, and I spend a lot of my time now reading about Indigenous and traditional farming practices, and I've changed the way I've written about it in my dissertation work, and I've changed the way that I talk about it in, like, I got to do a guest lecture last week or a few weeks ago in a sustainable food systems course, and it was like opening with like, native farmers would laugh at the fact that we're having a conversation about some of the things that we're going to talk about because it's just so obvious, and so like that has become really deeply ingrained in the way that I look at things now, and trying to center like Indigenous scholarship in my work a lot more, and that's not something that I thought overly about before. Like it wasn't an intentional thing that I would seek out. And so that's the way that I've looked at those, like who's writing these papers has changed a lot since coming into this fellowship. And I am like much more critical of that. So I mean, I'm thrilled at what I've gotten out of this fellowship, really.
So glad to hear it. Okay, and then I guess my next question would be for Andrea and Freddie, if you could talk a bit about your experience working with your faculty mentors a bit.
Sorry. Yeah. So I belong to the iClean. I know Kathleen briefly mentioned it, but the iClean study stands for, or what it does is it looks at soil lead, blood lead levels in children in Santa Ana to determine their academic and neurological behaviors. So that's something that I actually didn't have a lot of background in. Again, environmental science and policy with a GIS background. So I thought my GIS skills would be used, so I was super thrilled. And then they're like, "Oh, that'll be used in year 5." I'm like, "Oh, this is a 1 year program." So, but that's not to say. At first, I was like kind of nervous, but then as my mentor June Wu and Dr. Alon LeBron, they're two amazing people that I think have forever like perceived my like perceptions of like what a good mentor is in the future. And yeah, it's amazing. They were able from the ground up like quell my fears and like reassure me that all experience is valuable, wherever it may come from, which I think like completely aligns with the CJI, which is like it's interdisciplinary. This is interdisciplinary fellowship. So all our lab members, some of us are public health, some of us are environmental science, some of us are urban policy. It doesn't matter. Our study coordinator, I think, is an anthropologist. So every all like disciplines are matter, and all experiences and all inputs matter. So yeah, my mentors have been amazing, and the research that I'm doing is super fulfilling. Going out to the community is something that I really wanted when I applied to this fellowship, and I think I've been awarded that opportunity every single like week. Like, hey, we're having an outreach event. Freddie, do you want to come? Yeah, of course I'm there. So I think I've been really grateful, and I think it's super fulfilling, the work that I've been doing with both my mentors.
Yeah, for me, with regards to the faculty research, it's not focused on like working with communities, not community-based at all. I'm working with, yeah, again, Dr. Jim Renderson at UCI, who's an amazing faculty member. Through this experience, like I mentioned earlier, it was just like a new field to look into, like wildfire research and fires in California. And so through that, I've been working more closely with the postdoc, Tina, in his lab. And it's really heavy more on like data analysis, but the interesting part of it is sort of like looking at how like resources, at least for like in terms of like fire suppression, can be limited during high fire years, which can lead to like larger fires. And I'm hoping to potentially look into more like EJ considerations and EJ variables, such as like looking at which communities are most impacted by fires and things like that. I still have yet to sort of integrate that piece once I kind of like resume the data analysis piece. But yeah, it's been more focused on like I know their lab is sort of more focused on like modeling and things like that, which is such a new thing for me, but it's a technical skill that I'm hoping to kind of engage in more and be able to understand more to have more like EJ centered applications. But I really do like the research, and it's definitely, I feel like for me personally, without having like any quitting experience prior to this fellowship, it's really rewarding in that sense.
Great, thank you. And I guess one last question for you all before we decide to go off script is how has CGI helped or informed your future plans for your career?
I feel like for me, CJ has kind of diversified what my future plans look like because after this fellowship, I feel like I am not only, scientifically focused, I can do scientific research, but I find it, or I think I'm confident to also do research in the social sciences, looking at environmental justice issues. So I'm in a place where when I see environmental justice opportunities, I feel like, okay, I can actually do this as well. And if I see like research that is focused mostly on the science part of the work, I can do that as well. But then the most important thing is, I feel like even if I continue in the sciences, I'm going in with like a different lens given that now I can easily integrate environmental justice issues in the science part of the work that I do. And I think that is a really big part of things, because if we can, I don't know, incorporate some part of this in what we do, I think our work is going to make a bigger impact when we're talking about climate justice and the communities that climate change would impact the most. Yeah.
Andrea, do you want to share?
Yeah, I can share. I wasn't sure what order we were doing it.
Sorry, I was just
yeah.
I was using the original intro order, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's easier to do. Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, same as Ada. Like I feel like I've like sort of came in wanting to do like so many different things, and I feel like what I've kind of coming out of it with is like fostering like my motivation to do more community engaged work. I'm still not sure yet in what way to do it. I know that there's so many different opportunities to do that in academia or outside of academia. I'm sort of trying to see where my spot is in that. But definitely it's reassuring to also hear from a lot of PhD fellows that it's okay to take a gap and things like that. So that's really helpful in terms of like setting aside like a path towards like that diagram that Kathleen had showed earlier about like there's not, it's okay to follow a non-traditional path when it comes to like community-centered work. And I think through it all has also been like having a more critical eye of like roles of different groups that are working towards like environmental work, like in the state, like state level, or like yeah, like agencies and things like that. Like I don't know if this is sort of off topic, but I had an interview for like a county job focused on urban planning, and it didn't go so well. And what I had kind of come out of that was being more critical of like the intention or who you're working with and what they kind of intend to do with the communities that they're impacting. And so I didn't really see that intention from that agency at the county level, which was disappointing, but that also helped me kind of, I think through CGI's like discussions and everything we've kind of built up to, it's like it's really necessary to have like a collective group working towards like collective action. And it's unfortunately sad to see that even at agency levels, wherever that is, sometimes that isn't there, but sometimes it is. And yeah, I'm sort of trying to navigate what the right path is. But yeah, I think, yeah, definitely noticing like what, like trying to have an impact through work, no matter where it is like the path that I'm trying to take with CJI's help.
Yeah, I agree. I think in some ways my career path has narrowed because of this. Like I don't want to work anywhere that isn't doing good work. Before it was really focused on I want to do good environmental work. Like I wanted to always be working on climate and environmental solutions. And after coming out of this, like I want to always be doing climate and environmental solutions where justice is at the center of those and like not many places are doing that. So the job market has gotten slimmer, I think, since finishing this fellowship. But that's okay. It just means it means entering spaces with that intention and knowing that you want to build that if it doesn't exist, right? And so yeah, I think I job plans have changed, but in a really positive way. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll let you guys know in like 6 years where we're at.
I think the CGA helped inform me personally. I think I learned how to value myself a lot more. I was, oh, again, coming off of undergrad, I think you're always like, oh, where am I going to find my place in the world? And then again, coming back to my mentors, because I really, really do appreciate them and all the CGI staff. I think I was able to find values that I hold true to myself, as well as like holding future potential jobs like accountable. Like there was this one job that I think I was gonna. There was a path, a crossroads back in June when we got the offer, and it was CGI or a corporate job. And I think looking back, I'm so happy I chose this job because I think I am not the same person I was a year ago. And I, again, wholeheartedly think CGI and their values, and again, environmental justice and the community aspect of it is like something that, again, top of the forefront. And I really appreciate all of you. So yeah, super. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. And I just want to echo what you were saying about community. You know, um, when I was in my PhD program, I had a very fractured cohort. And so the notion of like community is huge to me. And the beautiful group that we have here with CGI is wonderful. Like it really is community. We do support each other, and there's unity, there's fun together, there's jokes, laughing, social outings. So like it's just the kind of thing that I would have wanted. And like if I could go back in time and this was still there, you know, then I would have joined it. So just wanted to share that. But anyhow, yeah, Kathleen, should we maybe open to questions or anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, thanks so much. Just to Julia, Freddie, Andrea, and Ada for sharing all of that. Every time I know it's, you know, these folks really took a leap to join this program that was brand new. So I'm really happy to hear that you're getting things out of it. And, you know, hopefully everyone in the audience here will be inspired to join us. And we're going to work on hopefully keeping things, you know, improving every year on out. And yeah, so yes, we are happy to take questions about anything, and you can direct them at any of the current fellows, at me, at Robert, or James, who is also here. Okay, so I see a couple questions in the chat. So let's start with how do you balance this? I guess this can be directed at any of the graduate fellows, so Julia and Ada. How do you balance the CGI requirements with PhD research and coursework?
I can go first. Okay. So I think last year it was pretty easier to balance, or last quarter it was easier to balance for me personally because I was done with coursework originally, so I only needed to take the one communication skills class, which was helpful with what I was doing at the time as well. So that was no big deal. But this quarter, as I mentioned earlier, the course has been a little bit much, and it can be challenging to try and balance the work we do with community-based organizations and with our CBO projects, the course, our research. Yeah, that has been quite challenging. And I think a little bit more challenging for other PhD students who maybe are in their first years and have other courses. So uh, I think there is also, I had to prioritize at some point and be like, okay, maybe these are things that need a little bit more attention at this moment compared to others, and just see how it goes. So some quarters are much easier, some have been a challenge, and I imagine spring quarter will be much different because then we don't have any required course to take. So we're only going to do the practicum, have more time to focus on our community-based work with our organizations, and then I think I can get more done out of my PhD research. So I imagine it varies, and I cannot prioritize as well.
Yeah, I also had to prioritize. And I commute from an hour and a half away, like Andrea and a couple of us actually. And I have 2 kids under 4. And I finally realized that if I spend an hour and a half doing my research every morning, hold on one second, buddy. If I spend an hour and a half doing research every morning, then I can spend the rest of the day on whatever other priorities I have. And I just like did that all the way through, and it really worked out. So, but am I a little crazier now than I was? Probably. So, I mean, there's also that.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, and I think it's really helpful advice also, Julia, that you raised that like the second year, I would agree that probably second or maybe third year is probably the ideal time to do this fellowship. We don't have any specific requirements, but I would just keep that in mind for any PhD students who are thinking about applying. We also, we usually create a wait list because we don't know if anyone's going to turn it down. So if we, and we'll let people know if, for example, we think you should wait and apply the following year or reapply. I'd say like our goal, because this is like effectively, we're asking for 50% time commitment to the program activities. So we view that, we hope that it should be equivalent to the time commitment of a TA position or a GSR position. So just kind of, and we may or may not have to make some adjustments if we find that we're not really achieving that for next year. So okay, so we have, let's see, a lot of questions in the chat. Maybe what I will do is, okay, I can answer this one real quick. How does CGI fit into the broader UCI Earth Sciences and related departments? What is the relationship? So it is housed in the Department of Earth System Science primarily because I'm the PI and I'm a faculty member there. So administratively, Robert and T are both employees of the ESS department. All of our postbacks are employed by the ESS department. The PhD fellows, though, come from I think about 40%-ish are from ESS, and the rest are from departments across campus. And other departments that are involved, either that we have PhD fellows from, or that some of our faculty are in, our anthropology, ecology and evolutionary biology, urban planning and public policy, political science, public health, chemistry, civil and environmental engineering. I think that might be all of them. So that's how it kind of fits in. For the funding, if you're a graduate student, the funding, like we work with your department staff, with your student affairs manager or whoever in your department or program over like handles graduate funding. So we work with them to make sure that like the stipends are paid and fees are paid and everything like that. Hopefully that answers that question. And then I see, why don't we go to Victoria, who has their hand up?
Hi, my name is Victoria. I'm from the education department. I'm a PhD student, and I was just wondering if you apply, do you need to have like GIS experience or more specific Earth system skills? And is there like a need for any type of education or science communication within the field placement?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can try to respond, but Robert, feel free to chime in if you have thoughts, or James, or anyone really. So yeah, I think I know that there's a lot of really great things happening at UCI around environmental justice education. And so bringing in people from the School of Ed who are interested in that or interested in some of these issues is definitely within the realm of what I think would be exciting for us. A lot of our partners are heavily involved in one of our a lot of our partnering organizations are really very much interested and do a lot of work around outreach and education and youth programming within their communities. And so a lot of our fellows have been involved in things like that. Some of the projects, actually Julia's project somewhat ties in directly to some of that. But we really are trying to, the goal is, and the first part of your question, no, you don't need GIS experience. We're trying to figure out the best way still to get people that experience if they come in without it and want it, but it's definitely not expected. And yeah, I think there's a place for, in terms of the community engaged projects, we really try and think carefully about what the skills and knowledge that people are bringing to the program when kind of assembling and working to match fellows in their project teams and with community partners. So I'd say, yeah, I'll stop there, but I don't know, Julia, if you want to add anything or, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add that, yeah, our intention is to try, I mean, like Kathleen said, we're trying to recruit from a combination of disciplines, and we assume there's different backgrounds for those. But we are trying to kind of give a little bit of foundational training for those who maybe in different disciplines, you know. Plus, like, the idea is to provide all kinds of resources, right? So my hope is before long, I would like to even provide like a LinkedIn workshop on just how to, you know, prepare for a non-academic career, you know, when it comes to interviewing, applications, professional presence, and so forth. So, yeah, we're trying to kind of cast a broad net with what we address for skills and background.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I see a question in the chat that Julia responded to, thank you, about the rolling admission. No, we don't do that. The deadline is May 1st. And we are aiming to have decisions sent out to everybody by around the end of May. So we are really trying carefully to, you know, center equity in how we're evaluating the applications. So that means we have to have all of them and evaluate them all in the same way and at the same time. And yeah, if there's like, yeah, I guess if you have an individual situation that you know, would require some flexibility, maybe contact us to discuss, and we can let you know whether it's worth even, we don't want you to apply if you need to know, like, you know, before then. So yeah, I'd say reach out, and Robert and I can put both of our emails in the chat, which I guess you can email either of us. If you want a faster response, probably Robert is better, but I'm happy to try it as well. Yeah. Did I miss any other questions?
There's one asking for more information about the projects and how whether they would remain the same next year or would there be
Oh, I see.
changes. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
that's a good question.
there's
So,
one that got liked by like 4 other people though. So I don't know if you want to
okay,
look at that one too.
we can get to both.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll do the first. Was there a specific moment you really saw your research reaching, impacting BIPOC communities? Interesting. Yes, that is a good question, and that I think is one for the fellows. So actually, let me go ahead and talk about the previous questions for the sake of time. I'd say the projects we are aiming to you know, go about conducting the community-based research through a process of co-design whereby we're really centering the needs and interests of the community partners. The problem and part of the challenges of doing community-based research in academia is the timeline for that can often take longer than, you know, one academic year for sure. And so the way that we've been approaching the co-design so far is that those of us who are, you know, involved in the project and collaborating with the communities on longer basis, mainly the RJS staff, myself, and probably this year the postdocs and Robert will participate in this in some level. They weren't around last year to do so. But basically we are in conversation with all of our community partners about whether they want, you know, us to try and continue with these projects or build on them in some way, or whether there's like other things that have become more pressing or of interest. And so I expect what's going to happen is some of the projects will continue, and there will be some process that we're kind of in the middle of designing whereby the previous fellows will either we'll figure out a way for them to hand off the project to the next cohorts of fellows, or to remain engaged and just grow the team. So both of those are options. And really there is always a possibility that something else will come up. And sometimes it can be motivated by the interest and expertise of the fellows that we end up admitting. For example, the extreme heat project in Santa Ana really came about because we have one of the PhD fellows is really an expert in doing her research on extreme heat. So that was raised with the partners and they were interested, and that's how that kind of evolved. Okay, let's see. Does anyone, I don't think we probably have time for everybody, but maybe somebody wants to respond to that question about impact.
So personally, for my PhD research, it's a bit challenging because the output of the work that I do are publications, and the long-term impact I am hoping is that those publications might be reflected in policy. So sometimes when I go to the field, it's challenging to have like local farmers ask like, okay, so you're collecting this data, does that mean we're going to get some sort of funding to improve the processes that we're getting involved in? And it's difficult to not have a yes answer to that, but I also have to be honest about like the timeline that this work might take to impact the community I'm working with. But I am also working on the extreme heat project in Santa Ana with Green MPNA, which is trying to see how to improve facilities that can like cooling centers that can accommodate low income community members during extreme heat events. And I feel like although we are just building the project, but I think what we are doing is going to have a much more immediate impact to the Latinx community in Santa Ana much sooner compared to the other projects I'm working on. So that's a really positive note.
Thanks, Ada. Apologies, I forgot you were on that project for a second.
That's okay. Yeah, so this year we've been mostly working on building the project, and now we are trying to apply to a grant from the governor's office, which is going to improve like cooling center facilities and try to find out what barriers residents are having from using those cooling centers. So yeah, if we succeed to see the grant application through, like you said, maybe the next cohort of fellows might continue with implementing that project, and then maybe take it to a level where we can, all the community can start benefiting from the results.
Great. Well, I think we're at time, so probably we should wrap up. But thanks everyone for coming. We hope to see your applications soon. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out by email, and we will be posting the recording of this and we can send everybody who have registered for the Zoom meeting a copy of the slides as well. So have a
Thank
great
you,
rest of your week,
panelists.
everyone. And thank you all for being on the panel.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
As well. Bye.
Bye, everyone.